We're about to chat you through some RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. Dreamy.
Delicious.
So we're doing our in-depth video on these, and RDL, it's a hinge movement, okay? That's a really specific thing. Obviously, if you picture a door hinge, it should be pretty clear. But it's surprisingly complicated for your body, even though it's one of the fundamental movements that you can do.
Fundamental movement.
That's my journey for the other day. If you've performed a deadlift before, whilst they have the same term in it, it's a completely different movement for your body. So it's worth knowing that this is an isolation exercise. This specifically works your hamstrings and a bit of your glutes, whereas a deadlift is a full body movement. Very, very different. We'll chat you through it. So for the setup, Bobby's going to set up. He's going to grab this bar, and because it's really helpful, he's going to step back on straight to the side for you. Whereas if you're doing this yourself, you'd actually stay just 1 or 2 steps behind this bar. Feet are fit with body width apart, I can't speak at all. And then hands just either side here, like you can see. So if I show you front on, we're in this position. Now, for the Romanian deadlift, I want you to picture that Bobby's feet and shins are completely covered in concrete. They cannot move. So if I demonstrate that, literally up until this point, completely static. They will not move through this whole movement. Whatever else happens, they can't move. We'll even test that a little bit. What's going to happen is you'll notice Bobby is really strongly holding this bar with his shoulder blades down and back, depressed and retracted. I can't speak today. Brack, what's that?
Squeeze the armpits.
Squeeze the armpits. So they're held back in that nice strong position. You should see that even though it's sideways on. And what's going to happen is you'll see down this midline of the body, we want the bar to go straight down towards the floor. But Bobby's hips are going to come backwards away from that midline to facilitate this movement. Again, keeping in mind that those knees aren't going to come forwards because they're encased in concrete. We've got a couple of cues we like to use for this, which is for me, chop and drop. It's like being chopped in half in that position. And Bobby likes to say,
I like to say that there's a button on the wall behind you and you're going to press that button with your bum.
Exactly that. But the button is at the same height as your bum, so it can't get any lower. So that's what happens, right? If you get lower, my knees come forwards. That's not what's going to happen when Bobby does this. Yeah, that, different. We do not want that.
That's very uncomfortable.
So whilst Bobby's been holding this bar for a very, very long time, just without the bar, Bobby, I'm just going to hold this in front of your knees, and you're going to show people what this hinge movement is. Fantastic, that's exactly it. And you can see I'm not cheating here. Bobby's knees do not come forwards at all. They shoot straight back, those hips in that position, and from there, come back up. His chest's going to be upright and proud, but his neck is neutral and in line with his spine. So again, we're not looking upwards towards the ceiling on this. That neck is going to follow in line with the body as we do it. Let's grab that weight. Bobby's actually going to conventionally deadlift this weight up into position, which if you're starting from the floor, you'll need to do as well. And just a reminder, they're 2 very different movements. So you'll see Bobby's knees have come forwards. He's up. Now we're in our starting position for our RDL, our hinge. Great. From this position, Bobby, give us that hinge forwards. Great. You'll notice that bar is really close to the legs. It is literally carving down his legs in those shins. I'm making him hold this horrible position. And from here, he's going to drive upwards back to that top position. He's doing really well not to let that bar swing out when he does that as well. That force is transferring upwards. 1 more rep for us. Nice. Down we go. Really engaged core. I'll sound the movement breath from Bobby here and drive back up into that position. And you can rack if you want to or drop that weight. Lovely. Now, RDLs, pretty complicated as you can see. So again, film these as much as possible. Check in with yourself, make sure they look okay.
Absolutely. Use mirrors. Check yourself out in those mirrors. Think about that setup. As I always say, the setup is the most important part of the movement. If you set up correctly, you're not guaranteed success, but you're well on the way to success. No guarantees.
The reason we've set it up on the rack here as well is because, as Bobby had to demonstrate then, if you're new to deadlifts and Romanian deadlifts, picking it up from the ground involves a conventional deadlift, and then you mentally swapping into an RDL hinge pattern, which if the two are a little bit confused in your head, is quite complicated to do. So start off from the top position here, and then you know, okay, I can just hinge into this movement, rather than have to sort of get a little confused between the two.
Yeah, go have some fun with the RDLs. We love those movements. I love that movement. Big fan of the RDL. But just really focusing on that technique, all the stuff that we've spoken about. And again, as always, if you're unsure, film yourself. Send it to us. We'll have a look. We'll see what's going on. We'll see if we can fix it with a few cues, and we'll get back to you. Enjoy.
RDLs, baby.